r/confession. Admit your wrongdoings. I shot at cars with a paintball gun as they were driving on a highway. I was young, maybe 17, and me and couple friends were bored out of our minds one day, so we decided to explore an abandoned house on the side of a highway. We parked our car a few miles away in a neighborhood and walked through brush/ranch land in the middle of the night with our paintball guns to get to the house. We used to explore a lot of abandoned places in our city, so we learned to park the car as far away as we could and walk to the location to minimize getting into trouble. Anyway, once we were there, the old house was in really bad shape and was practically falling apart on its own. We didn't spend too much time in it, and not satisfied with the situation, we decided to use our paintball guns to shoot at the cars passing by, because why the fuck not? We were stupid. We all lined up, ambush style, prone on the ground and tucked in between the brush. It was dead night and there was no way anyone could have seen us. We wore dark clothing. A few cars passed by, we all shot a volley of rounds, but it seemed like we kept missing. Cars were going maybe 45 to 60 miles per hour, so after a few tries and compensating for the speed, I remember we had to aim way ahead of the car. It was insane. We started to get solid hits, we could hear the impact. Most of them kept driving off. I'm assuming they thought they hit a rock or small insect or something, and we would just laugh like idiots every time we'd get a hit. However, this one guy we hit abruptly stopped and got out of the car immediately, and started looking for us with a flashlight. I don't know if he had his windows up or down, so we may or may have not hit him directly, but I'm assuming we did. Judging by how quickly he reacted and got off his vehicle and searched in our general direction, he knew. We frantically started running away from the area and eventually made it back to our car, and that was the end of it. Looking back at it, it was a stupid and idiotic thing to do. I wouldn't like it if I was in their place. I apologize for whoever we stained their cars and that other guy who went looking for us, who we may have potentially hurt. My brother is partially paralyzed from shooting at random people with a paintball gun. Someone thought it was a real gun and returned fire. Don't fuck around with random people. The guy had severe PTSD and it made him think he was still in a war zone. The shooter wasn't charged with anything, and my brother has $250K plus in medical bills. I intentionally damaged my landlord's property in 2016. Okay. So back in 2016 I was a college graduate. I was searching for a stable job, while working 3 part-time jobs, around 80 hours/week, just to make ends meet. I found a home on Craigslist with 2 other guys for around $450 a month to rent. The house was an absolute shithole. Fiberglass ripping off, insulation coming out from the outside, stains everywhere, etc. I took photos and whatnot of my living area. I didn't care because I needed a place to live. It was a small house less than 50 yards away from my landlord's much bigger and nicer house. He was an older guy in his 60s with a complete lack of care for anyone but himself. He refused to fix the siding and insulation issues, even though it led to multiple bug infestations. During college football games, he would allow people to park in our driveway, sometimes blocking our way to leave so he could make $75 a car. Fast forward to the end of my lease. My landlord doesn't do a walkthrough with me, and I get a letter in the mail keeping my $900 deposit for damages to the trap house. He also tried to add an additional $400 for carpeting damages. To add some context, his wife had died 1 month prior, and the week before I moved out, one of his 2 dogs died. I told him these were pre-existing damages and I wasn't going to pay it. His response: "I'll see you in court." I paid the extra damages. Not wanting to deal with all the court issues, I let it go. I knew I had been ripped off and it didn't sit right with me. So around 2 weeks after I left, I returned. The house was on a decline hill into a wooded area with no cameras on the road. I knew he only had cameras on his house. It was around 11 p.m. I wore all black, covered my face, and approached his house on foot. He always kept his car parked outside. I slashed all 4 of his tires and fucked up his windshield. Fuck him and his dog. He's gonna screw me out of $900, then he's gonna pay $900. No regrets to this day. If you have pictures of it when you moved in, time-stamped, you could have seen him in court and won. 6 years and some life experience later, yeah, I know. But at the time, I was working so much and more preoccupied with that. That's so much hassle and time off from work not everyone has. He got what he deserved. We had a neighbor that rented out his lower apartment but continually screwed people over. This one couple moved out sans security deposit, visually upset, and at some point they must have came back at night. Someone put a garden hose inside the basement door and turned on the water. Completely flooded basement, ruined the carpet, furniture, and appliances. Owner tried to have them arrested but they were actually at their in-laws in the next state. No, we didn't do it, but he got what was coming to him. Workers were in there for about a month. In high school I spent a week convincing a kid he was being recruited by a D1 college for baseball. 2015 was my junior year of high school and I was playing baseball that summer. I was decent. I pitched and could have probably played some JUCO ball, but that's about it. There was a kid on our rival high school team, named Phoenix, yes like Phoenix but spelled like you were wearing a 2010 Cookie Monster snapback. He was a year younger and had just gotten called up to varsity because West High was pretty ass. Don't get me wrong, the kid wasn't terrible, but he got a huge head about it and started posting/tweeting shit talk about our school and a few of my teammates. I had known Phoenix since middle school because we grew up in the same neighborhood. Kid had a big mouth and didn't really realize he was white, ginger, and upper middle class. He was S-tier cringe. Anyway, I ended up finding his number from an old group chat I had from middle school. I had it a different number now, so on the ride back from a road game I decided to send him a text pretending to be Rick Heller, head coach of the University of Iowa baseball team. I started out by introducing myself and telling him that we've had some scouts coming to his last couple varsity appearances. I told him we've been really impressed with how fast he's moved to the varsity level and how we're interested in having him down to throw some bullpens and try out in front of the coaching staff. Keep in mind he was nowhere near D1 level. He ended up responding immediately with the eagerness of a 6-year-old at a Toys R Us. He told me he'd love to come down and told me about his work ethic and how I wouldn't find a harder worker than him, all of this unprovoked by me, BTW. He just wanted to let coach know what he was bringing to the table. Why would a D1 college coach be communicating with you via text? So, after a couple days of chatting with him on and off, and letting the rest of my team in on the joke, I had convinced him to make the hour-and-a-half drive to Iowa City to meet coach that following Monday. The result couldn't have been more rewarding. I later found out that Phoenix made his dad take off early from work, missed an entire day of practice to make the drive, and told his coach and entire team that he was being recruited by Iowa. To top it off, when he got to the field, he texted me and I told him to sit in the bleachers and the assistant coach would be with him in a bit. He then proceeded to post a snap story of him sitting in the bleachers with his glove pointed out toward the field with the caption, "My day," which was sent to me by several of his teammates who I went to middle school with. He was clowned the rest of the season for it and I got a 2-game suspension from my coach who chuckled his way through telling me he had to sit me for what I did. He was West High's assistant coach the previous year, so he knew Phoenix and didn't like him, but he couldn't let that go unpunished. Understandably so. Over the next week, I received several texts, calls and threats from Phoenix promising to beat my ass. Ended up seeing him at a party about a year later. He made eye contact with me, and then left after about 10 minutes. Side note, his dad was that old dude at the rec center who would come up behind kids and give them pointers on their jump shot and shit. They both deserve to be embarrassed, but I do feel bad that I spent that much time ruining someone's summer. Okay. I both love you and hate you for this. This joke is cruel and elegant at the same time. Probably a core memory you single-handedly birthed. This kid will never, ever forget. I can see him telling this story as a middle-aged dad over a few brewskis after a golf outing with the fellas. This is both awful and hilarious. But for a HS kid in the name of his teammates, this is legendary. I commend you, no shame. He embarrassed himself. To be fair, you just gave him the opportunity to do so. You are a menace. Thank you for watching, and please join us next week for a new video. In the meantime, check out some of our other Reddit story type videos and other types of content on the channel. There's music, instrumentals, video game devlogs, game streams, and much more. Till next time.